Well, hello everybody and welcome to another video tutorial. My name is Peter Drakulic, and in this video tutorial I want to show you how you could model this tire here, which is a motorbike tire, and as you can see it has those cuts all around the tread. Alright, so we're going to use both Blender and Inkscape for modeling this tire, and this way I want to show you how useful, how helpful can be to for us to know also a 2D drawing program like Inkscape in modeling different elements that we can then import as vectors inside a 3D program like Blender and start modeling more complex objects from them. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, let's go ahead and close this window really quick, and I'm here with a brand new scene, and I'm going now to first start with Inkscape. So I want to go to Inkscape and actually draw the profile of the tire. So I'm switching over to Inkscape. Okay, and I have opened Inkscape here. I have a new document here, and I want in this document to start drawing the the profile of my motorbike tire. So I'm selecting the pen Bezier tool, this one down here, and I start actually drawing a curve here. And don't worry too much about the curve itself for the moment. We can always play with this, around with this later on. Just give it the overall, shape of a profile of a tire. So now I go ahead and I'm selecting the edit nodes by the paths by nodes tool, and I'm going to work a little bit more with the handles here, so I can give it a much more and again, if you had a reference image, just go ahead and use it. Alright, and that would be very, very nice if you had a reference image while you were drawing this profile. Okay, for our tutorial I think that's okay for the moment, and let's go ahead now and switch over to the selector tool, or press S or F1 in on your keyboard. And now let's go ahead and have selected this path here. Let's go ahead and press Ctrl-D and duplicate the path. Now by holding down Ctrl, just go ahead and scale this down a little bit, and perhaps in this sense as well. Alright, now I want to select both of them by holding down Shift, and I want to press Ctrl-K and to combine them into one single path. Now I have one single path. I switch over to the node selector tool, and let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit, and I want to select by border selecting those two nodes here, and I want to bring my Shift Control A by pressing Shift Control A, my alignment dockable dial here, and select to line up those nodes in the horizontal sense by clicking this button here. Now I don't want I want to join them, those two, with a line segment. So I'm going ahead and I'm pressing this button here. So I have joined them together, but I don't want to join those two, because I'm going to duplicate this and to mirror this around the vertical axis. So select your selector tool by pressing S or F1 and Ctrl-D, duplicate this path here. Now press H in order to mirror this, to flip this along the around the vertical axis, and by holding down Ctrl, just move it somewhere here. Alright, somewhere here perhaps, and I want now to go ahead and, alright, something like that. And now I want to select both of them and Ctrl-K and combine them into one single path. Now I'm selecting the nodes tool, and I'm selecting those nodes here, and I want to, of course, to select those two and to join them into one single node by pressing this button over here. Alright, this button here. Alright, now I have made one single path. Alright, let's move them a little bit downwards. Okay, Now this is our profile for our tire, so I want to save this as a .svg or scalable vector graphics format, and to export this into Blender so I can use it as a profile for shaping my actual tire. So I want to have selected this path here, go to File and select Save As, and from Save As options go ahead and save this as let's say profile up .svg. Okay, now I can go back to Blender, switch over to Blender, and I want to import this this .svg file. And so I want to go to import scalable vector graphics, and if this is not by default enabled, you can always go to File, User Preferences, and you can actually go to the import export section down here and go down here somewhere, and yeah, you can find the import export scalable vector graphics .svg 1.1 format. So go ahead and check this, enable this, and close the user preferences. Also, I want to enable the screencast add-on as well. Okay, and of course sometimes it can crash Blender, so let's open a new Blender. I'm pausing the recording and I'm coming back in just a while. So here I'm back with a new brand new Blender scene and the screencast add-on enabled, and I want now to import the graphic of the profile tire that I have made in Inkscape. So import scalable vector graphics .svg, and I'm heading over to the directory and I select the profile up .svg, import .svg. As you can see, here it is now. Alright, this one. So first thing I want to do is to Shift Control Alt C and bring the origin to the geometry. Okay, and then I'm going to press Alt Z to reset the location and alter the rotation, of course, and perhaps I'm going to be rotating this around the x-axis by 180 degrees, and I want now to tab into edit mode and select all those nodes here, or knots or anchors, and move them a little bit somewhere here. Of course, you can always go ahead and scale them along the x-axis if you need, so you can make this nest a little bit narrower. Alright, and now what I want to do is, this actually is now a curve, so I want to convert to turn this into a mesh, polygonal mesh, so I can apply a screw modifier to this. So in order to do so, first it's a good idea to shift deduplicate this and move the copy, so you can always have a backup copy of your object to another layer. Now I'm selecting the curve and I'm pressing Alt C and I'm turning this into a mesh. So now, as you can see, this is a mesh, alright, and I want to go ahead and apply to this mesh by going to the modifiers menu up here to apply to them a modifier, screw modifier. So as you can see now, the screw modifier has been applied, but we have to work a little bit with the orientation of the mesh itself. So tab into edit mode, select the mesh, R, Y, rotate this along the y-axis by 90 degrees. Something like so, and we have made something like that. Of course, you can play with the scale of the mesh, right, by scaling down it, alright, and you can play with the overall shape of the mesh if you want. And you can also go ahead and adjust the steps here from 16, make them something like 31, or I don't know, perhaps 64, perhaps something like that. So you can have enough steps and this to be smooth enough, this tire. Alright, tab out edit mode and smooth out the geometry, and now I want to go ahead and apply actually this modifier here, the screw modifier. So I'm clicking apply and I want to rotate this along the y-axis by 90, and now let's go ahead and press Ctrl A to apply the rotation scale, and I want now to go ahead and bring this and bring this tire up a little bit. Alright, something like so. Of course, it is huge compared to the camera, but it's okay. Let's go ahead now, press Shift C to center the cursor to the center of the scene, and Shift A add the mesh plane, and let's go and scale up the plane. And this plane is going to be the actually this plane, you know, like the studio lighting plane, things like that. All right, now let's go ahead, select my camera, look through your camera, and press N to bring this side panel here. And let's go to the View tab, search for the View tab. Let's go here and enable Lock Camera to View. Here it is. So now I can navigate my scene and I can find a nice spot for my camera for you know, for this tire here. And so I want to bring my camera somewhere here. All right, and I'm just trying to make a nice, to find a nice, you know, angle, and then uncheck this Lock Camera to View option. All right, and let's go ahead and save. All right, let's save, and tire up. Okay, now all I want to do is to select this plane here, rotate it for about around the Z-axis by holding down Z, around something like so, whatever. Okay, and now I want to go ahead, select this edge here, tab into edit mode, select this edge of the plane, and just go ahead and extrude it a couple of times. All right, something like so. And of course switch over to local. Alright, something like so, extrude it. Alright, something like so. I'm working on in the local space, okay, and I'm moving it, and of course I want to extrude it once more along the Z-axis perhaps now. Okay, something like so. Alright, and I have made this plane here. Let's take a look through our camera. Okay, and now I'm going to smooth out the shading for this plane, and I'm going to scale it along the local x-axis for somewhat. Okay, so now I have made something like that. So let's go ahead and add some lights now, and Shift A, add a lamp, a spot lamp, and now let's have selected this lamp here. Shift select the tire, and Shift select the tire, and press Ctrl T. And add the track to constraint to this light here. Now grab the light, and all right, bring this light somewhere here. So I want to actually place this somewhere here. All right. So this is going to be the key light. Okay. So this is going to be the key light actually. So, and the key light, I'm going to the properties here, and I want this to cast shadow, but let's go ahead and call this something like key light. Alright, now let's find the camera, here it is, and let's go to the camera properties and give it a size, a bigger size, something like from down here from the size, something like, I don't know, something like 13 perhaps, 31. Alright. No, just a moment. Let's go to the size of the camera, yeah, and bring this up quite a bit. Okay, so now I want to shift deduplicate this spotlight here and make my fill light. So shift deduplicate this and press Shift G so you can move it along the XY plane. Bring this somewhere here so that it makes it is at a 90 degrees angle relative to the key lights, and I want to uncheck the cast shadow option for this spotlight here, and let's go ahead and call this fill light. Alright, and I want to shift deduplicate this and move this in the XY plane, and let's bring this somewhere here in the back, perhaps somewhere lower, and this is going to be my rim light or backlight. Alright, now that I have set up my my lights in my scene, my single scene, all I want to do, and I want to later on go ahead and play around with the intensities and things like that. So all I want to do now is first of all save, and then go ahead and create in Inkscape those cuts here, alright, those geometric patterns that are characteristic for motorbike tires, like slick almost tires, as we call them, for bikes. So I'm switching over to the Inkscape now, and I'm going to make a new drawing here. So press Ctrl N and create a new document. Here it is, and I want this document to have a width by height ratio of 1 to 1, to be square, and more precisely I want this to have a 512 by 512 pixels width by height. So this I can very easily adjust by going to File, Document Properties, or press Ctrl D, and in the pop-up dialog that pops up, you can go down here to the width and height options and set them to 512. Press tab, 512. Alright, now I have made this square page here. Close the dialog, press 5 to zoom in to the page, and now I'm going to be adding the the pattern of those cuts around my tire. So I'm going to be using the ellipse tool. Press E or F5 equally, and I'm going to be drawing 2 ellipses, starting from and let's make the the ellipses. For some reason, yeah, I don't know why it doesn't work. Right, yeah, perhaps a bug. Let's go. I'm pausing the recording, and I come back in just a while. Well, here I am back, and now let's go ahead and try to actually draw those ellipses here that are going to be the detail we need. And hold down Shift so you can adjust the overall, symmetrically the width of this shape here. And let's make one shape here like so. Let's go ahead, click twice here. Hold down Control if needed and rotate this somewhere here. Alright, and of course, as I told you before, I forgot to file document preferences, and I want this to be 512 by 512 pixels. Okay, so okay, close this window here, and now let's scale down this. And the reason I want this to be square is that I want to use it as a texture later on. Of course, this is not a strict rule, but it's always a good idea to for this to be square. So by holding down Control, scale down this ellipse, move it somewhere in the bottom left window, and now I'm going to be applying, actually what is going to make this a bump is a gradient. So I want to apply to this a gradient. So just go ahead and select the gradient tool from the tools down here. Just select the gradient tool. So having selected the gradient tool, let's go ahead and draw a gradient somewhere here. I want this to be linear. Okay, and let's work a little bit with the gradient itself. Let's zoom in a little bit, and I want to go ahead and make something like that, and I want those two, the end nodes to have the same color, white, and I want the inner color to be black. So let's go ahead and edit this gradient here. And first of all, I want to add by double clicking, I want to add a new node here. I want to select this node here, the first one. Let's make this white, and I want to double click on this middle node and make this black. Alright, and I want to make this black, and also I want to make this have an opacity of 255, and also for this one I want this to have an opacity of 255 and color white. Alright, so I have made something like this. Okay, well, it's quite nice. Of course, I would like perhaps to move a little bit the ends somewhere like so. Okay, alright, it's okay. And now let's go ahead and close this window, and I want to switch over to my selector tool. Select this shape here, and just Control D, duplicate this, and click twice here, and click twice here, and rotate it about 45 or 90 degrees perhaps, and bring it somewhere up here. Alright, so I want to add a background, a shape you know, a rectangular shape that's going to be my background, and actually I want to fill this with white. So I'm drawing a rectangle here, and I'm selecting object, lower to bottom. So now it's underneath, actually it's behind or underneath, beneath the two cuts here, this, and I want this to fill with a color white. So right click on this X icon, set fill. Alright, right click, set fill down here, and from set fill you want to select white. Alright, by clicking on this swatch here. So now I have made this kind of this graphic here. Let's move this a little bit somewhere here. Alright, and you can always go ahead and of course add much more detailed, complex shapes to your to your drawing here, and make this even more nice with but for our tutorial I want you to show just the concept and not the perfect example, perhaps, as always. Okay, so now let's go ahead and file, save this, but this one I don't want to save this as an .svg file, but I want to export this as a bitmap, because I'm going to be using this as a texture. So export bitmap, and let's this pop-up dialog, this dialog pop-ups, alright, and I want to export this as a bitmap. So I want to browse to the directory I want to save this, and I'm giving it a name such as, let's say, bump thread underscore bump something, okay, and I click export, and I exported this as a bitmap image. Alright, now I can switch back to Blender, and I want to texture actually this tire here. So let's press / on numpad, so I can isolate my tire, switch over to the front, or the front view, and press 5 to enter the orthographic on numpad, so you can enter the orthographic perspective, I mean the orthographic mode. And I want to tab now into edit mode, and I want to select just those faces here outside, I mean around those faces here, as you can see, on the side, on the thread, actually, all the faces of the thread. So switch over to the front view again, switch over to face select mode, and I want to show you here a very nice way for selecting difficult, instead of selecting by border selecting and things like that, all you have to do is just go ahead and select those two face loops in the middle by alt right clicking. And now I'm going to be using a very handy, it comes to handy, a very handy selection method that is called go to the select panel here and select by linked flat faces. So the shortcut for this is Shift Control Alt F. So by clicking on that, you can define, as you can see here, the sharpness of the faces, of the angles actually. So by adjusting the angle here, you can select all the faces that are within this threshold of the angle. So if, for example, make this 3, as you can see, if you make this 4, so all the faces that have an angle of 4 degrees, okay, relative to the previous to the linked loop of faces, they're going to be selected. So if you click and make this something like so, alright, you have selected very easily alright, those faces here. Alright, so okay, I have selected very easily with this linked flat faces option those faces here. I'm going to make them a vertex group now, so head over to the vertex group, add a new group, and the new group is going to be a thread. Let's name this thread. Okay. Alright, assign, deselect, and select once more so you can be sure all those faces have been selected. Alright, now I want to unwrap just those faces here. Okay, so I switch over to the front view, I split this window here, and I bring a UV image editor here. Alright, and I want to unwrap just those faces here. So having selected those faces here, and having unwrapped them, we are going to try to UV map the texture of the cuts of that we have made in Inkscape. So first, let's go ahead and being here in the UV image, editor panel. Here, let's go ahead, image, open image, and let's go ahead and import the thread bump. Excuse me, the thread bump PNG. Open image. Now I want first to go ahead and add the material to this tire here. So let's head over to the material editor, add the new material. Let's name this material, rubber or tire, whatever. Alright, and I want this to be, first of all, a mixed material. Okay, so I'm heading over to the compositing, and I go to the material, down the material button here, and I want this to be a mixed material between a diffuse and a glossy material. So Shift A, add a shader, glossy shader. Alright, a gloss shader, and I want to mix them using a mix shader. So mix them together using a mix shader, and I want this material, of course, to have a color, a shaded, rather dark color. Okay, and of course this one to have also the same color, I guess. So let's make this also to be sample the color here and be something like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and switch over to the render it view, and I have something like this, as you can see. Of course, I have first to the camera to switch over to my camera here and select the camera, and and reset from the camera properties the size here of the to the default value. Alright, so let's switch over to render it. Alright, here we have something like that. Okay, of course I want to play a little bit with the lights, so I go ahead and bring in here a 3D view. Alright, and I want to go to the lights and select the lights, the lamps here, the key light, and of course I want them to first of all, let's go ahead and select them and add track to constraint, of course. Alright, and of course I want to select this one, Control T, track to constraint. So I want to adjust the luminosity of the lamp, and I want to have a feedback somewhere here. Well, I think this is okay for the one lamp, as you can see here from the rendered preview. I'm scrubbing the slider here. Let's go to the fill lamp, and let's pump up quite a bit the intensity of this lamp as well, and let's play a little bit with the rim or backlight and play a little bit, give it some more intensity as well. Of course, I want to play now a little bit with the the size of the cone, and I want a rather nice cone, wide cone for the key lamp, and a softer blend here for the key lamp. Something like this kind of zone here. Alright, and I want this to be also a rather wider cone, a smoother cone for and the same for the for this lamp here. So I have set up my lighting very quickly, of course, really quick, and now I want to go ahead and add, having selected the tire, I want to go ahead and let's switch over to, let's say first, and let's switch over to my default view and try to make some UV mapping. So now that I have added this material here, let's go ahead and having selected this, set the image to be this one, and I want to switch over to the texture view from here, and I want, of course, to scale down all those UV faces here. Alright, and I want to of course assign a color instead of gray color, I want to also assign, excuse me, instead of the displacement here, an image texture, and the image is going to be the thread bump. So I have, as you can see here, I have I have a representation of how this would look like. So you can play always with the texture, and actually you can play with the as you can see, you can play with the scale. In the mapping tab of the texture, you can play with the scale for both the X and Y. So let's make the Y something, the Y scale factor something like that. Okay, I like this. Alright, result. And let's make, and let's leave it as it is for the moment actually. So I like this result, and of course, if you see some seams here, you can always play with the X and Y location until you can move your texture, I mean your UVs, alright? You can map your UVs in a much better, nicer way. So we have something like that, which is pretty reminiscent of a real world motorbike slick tire. Alright, so let's go ahead now and work a little bit, let's say first, and work a little bit with the compositing. And now I want to place this texture, so import image texture. I want to place this one, image texture, and fit this into the displacement. Also, I want to add a converter, RGB to BW, just in case. And also I want to go ahead and add a Shift A math node, vector converter math, and add a math node here. Change the operation to multiply and the value to something like 1. So by adjusting this, you can play with the overall, bumping effect, all right, of the tire. Okay, so let's set the tread bump image. So immediately you can see that we have this kind of effect here, and of course let's move closer a little bit. All right, and set a input. Let's use an input texture coordinates and use UVs as a vector input for this tire. So you can see now that we have something like that. Alright, and of course let's switch from here to the texture view and go ahead to the texture again menu, and because we have changed the scale, and play a little bit with the X and Y scaling here until we have something like so. Alright, let me see. Alright, something like that. And of course I want to play a little bit with the Y scaling. Alright, something like that. Of course you can play with this until you find the one you like most, and you can play also with the displacement along the Y-axis. Alright, so okay, now let's go ahead and add a simple material for the plane back here, and let's name this material as background material. And I want this material to be a blue, something, perhaps something like so, a dark blue, something like so. All right, and okay. So let's take a look through my, through my camera, and I have something like this. All right. You can see that it's not so evident now, right now, but if you go ahead and let's say first and take a render of this, and of course if you play a little bit with the density of the lights, so go here, select the the lights here, especially the key light, and pump up the key light quite a bit until you have some reflection, all right, and you have some kind of this kind of effect, and of course you can pump up the fill light as well, give it quite a bit, quite of an intensity when you are working with, because the scale is really big for this tire here. So if I now go ahead and render, and let's set this to 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels, all right, okay, and now let's save, and let's make the sampling to render to 31 perhaps or 41 samples just for the tutorial now. Okay, and I'm pausing the recording, and I'm back in just a while. So now here we are presented with our rendering. You can see this rendering here. We have made our tire here, and I'm going to be, for example, I want to also add a new layer from the layers down here and make this render layer to have one scene layer and to render one render layer. And I want, let's say, the glossy to work a little bit with the glossy. Alright, aspect, the glossy property of my material. So select glossy. So you're going to have the glossiness of this tire as a separate channel. Alright, and I want, of course, to enable transparent from the film option up here. And let's go ahead and render once more. And I'm back in just a while. So now here we're back, and here it is the rendering of our tire, and I want now to work a little bit with the compositor. So let's switch over to the compositor node editor, and let's go ahead and add, let's say, a color mix, and I want to take advantage of the glossy channel here, and I want to make this, as you can see, let's connect this to the viewer, enable the backdrop option here, and you have this very nice glossy channel. I can go ahead and make and connect this as by using the the add or the screen blending mode. Okay, somewhere here to the initial one. All right. And I want to, of course, reduce the effect so I can give some more glossiness to my tire. Alright, not too much though. Alright, so you have something like that. You can always play with the by adding RGB curves. You can increase the contrast of your image. Alright, and you can always play with the contrast, but you want to be very careful. Alright, something like that. So you have something like that, and you can even go ahead if you want it and add the glare effect to your tire, and just go to filter glare and glare. Okay, and connect this to the glossy object output, and of course you might want to fade this somewhat and to make the threshold something like this, and switch over to fog glow. Alright, and you have made something like that. Okay, so you can add also this effect here, okay, and play with the mix factor and things like that. So overall you have this. Let's go and switch over to F12 and see our tire. So this is our tire, and we did this with the great help of Inkscape and Blender. So the great integration. So you can actually draw shapes in Inkscape and bring them inside Blender, or textures in Inkscape and bring them inside Blender, and use them for creating some very nice results and rendering. So that was for today. Hope you enjoyed it and you learned something from this. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time with another hopefully interesting topic, hopefully soon. Until then, have fun and goodbye.